What's up, guys and gals? My name is Splattercat. We are here at the Nerd Castle with the first episode of Unrest, an awesome little story-based game by Pure Odactyl. I got this game a couple days ago, and I've beaten most of it, and so I decided I was going to do a playthrough based upon the fact largely that everybody seemed to be really big fans of Vlad the Impaler, which is a text-based game. Didn't have any real action or anything like that. It was all ambiance and theme and storyline, and so Unrest is very much the same. The games that I would compare Unrest to are probably something more along the lines of like The Walking Dead, or Papers, Please, where really the gameplay is sort of just a mechanism to work you through the storyline. The player basically makes important decisions, and you sort of just watch the game unfold. There's not going to be a whole lot you can do about a lot of the situations, and essentially it's a game that just puts moral quandaries in front of you and then forces you to deal with them and also live with them, which in a lot of cases I found is actually the harder part. You'd be like, well, if I hadn't made that decision, this would be a whole lot easier, but I guess I screwed the pooch today. And so if you've ever played a game called, I guess it's called Tales of Arabian Nights, it's a board game, I would say that this is very similar to Tales of Arabian Nights in that the player is really just sort of a passenger for the storyline. Like, there are some light gameplay elements, but largely you're going to be walking around, talking to people, and then making important decisions at the end of each chapter after you gathered all the information. I'm not really sure how long the game is. I've played for about 4 hours at this point, and I think I've worked my way through a pretty big chunk. I mean, this could turn into a really long, sprawling series. But anyways, before I go on kind of blathering at the mouth, just having verbal diarrhea for too long, let's go ahead and start the game because there's going to be a lot of text, there's going to be a lot of things to get done. I'm not sure if this is going to be a main series. I'm recording this on my day off because, I don't know, I have an addiction or something. I just can't put down the recording software. So this was never planned on being like a main series for the channel. Still, I would like to play the game because I do feel like after having played and read some of the different dialogue and kind of noticing the different moral choices the game put in front of me, I do think that the writing for this game is actually stellar by comparison to a lot of other games. So let's go ahead and click start and we'll get going. First and foremost, we've got to choose a difficulty. So we can go with mortal, which means that we're untouched by destiny and we have to live with our decisions, which means it's on Ironman mode. Or we can go with myth, which allows us to kind of load our previous saves if we can save scum. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If we wanted to be like scummy, we could save scum. I would actually recommend doing this the first time through because every now and again you're going to make a decision and the result of that decision is going to make you like lean back in your chair and be like, no, that wasn't supposed to happen. I loved her. And you're going to be so upset about the way that things come out. I'm going to play on mortal because I've had a pretty good introduction to the game. I think I know what's going on with regards to the gameplay mechanics. Let's do it. And so we have to, this option cannot be saved in game. Well, I don't even really know what I want to name. We'll name it, I don't know, Butters. There we go. Okay, and so at the beginning of each chapter, essentially one of the things that I do and don't like about this game is that it bounces around between characters that are on opposite sides. And so a lot of the times I find myself sabotaging the people on the side that I don't like by making dumb decisions for them so that the people on the side I do like win. It's sort of like when you play chess with yourself, you naturally start to favor one side just kind of subconsciously. Exact same thing in this game, but at the beginning of every chapter when you take control of a new character, it's going to give you a brief introduction, you can look at their traits, and this game is going to put a lot of trust in you. This game is going to expect you to roleplay your character, and that's one of the things I have a problem with is when they put me in control of like the quote-unquote bad guys, I have a lot of trouble getting into their headspace and like making evil decisions because from their perspective the things that they do make sense, but from like my personal perspective as a human being, I have trouble like putting my own ethical problems aside and putting myself inside their body for the roleplay session. But it does give you things here. So Asha is a princess and the daughter of the royal family of Bhimrah. Asha has never left the palace, she's naive. So you are Asha, sole heir to the throne of Bhimrah, 12 years old. Bhimrah, a city built by your ancestors, has stood for almost 2 centuries. At its prime, Bhimrah was a sight to behold, a prosperous center of trade and an example to other kingdoms. However, those days are long gone. It has been many months since rainfall, and the earth is dry as a bone. There's not enough food to go around, and the underclasses are starting to get desperate. Today, Asha's parents hope to reverse Bhimrah's troubles. They are poised to make the decision that will redeem them in the public's eye, or condemn them. I don't think the public wants anything in their eye. When something gets in my eye, I can't live with myself any longer. I hate it, that little itchy feeling when you've got like a cat fur in your eye. You're like, ah! So we've got a bunch of things along the bottom. We've got a map. It'll flag anybody that has it'll flag anybody that has anything interesting to say while we go about our adventure. And this is going to be your main way of figuring out like where the hell you're supposed to be going next, because sometimes they drop you on really, really big maps, and there's a lot of conversations to be had. Now, that's not to taking a look at the map one more time. These people right here aren't the only people that'll want to talk to us. We can have conversations with loads of people, and in fact, I encourage you to do so, because some people will actually have almost spy-like levels of information that will help you figure out what you should do for like the next conversation or the next choice to minimize the damage to your people, or minimize the damage to yourself, or minimize the damage to your followers. It just sort of depends whether you want to be kind of an evil, conniving king slash queen, or whether you want to be a good girl and kind of, I suppose, move things more towards Magna Carta, you know, bringing the people into the ruling process, I suppose. Our traits, I already showed you those. We have our journal, where it's going to write down something important about everybody around us, so there's different people we'll be talking to. If you wanted a background on any of these people, Vijay, Avinash, the Queen, the King, you can click here, and it'll give you like a little snippet to help you kind of get more familiar with their personality. It's got locations, lots of information in this game. It's in fact very, very chock-a-block, which is all kinds of things that you can really stick your head into. The game is really, really good about presenting you with a lot of lore to play with. Let's go ahead and start having some conversations with people. So he says, "Good morning, my sovereign," so he's not going to have anything for us. We'll talk to Avinash first. "Asha, I know it's scary out there, but you're the princess. The people need to know that their princess is there for them on big, important days like this." So the first thing you're going to notice is at the top of the screen, there's going to be a number of kind of colored bars that you should probably pay attention to. The more these fill up, the more that this represents their outlook towards you. And so it's divided into 3 different echelons, or 3 different categories. You got friendship, you've got respect, and you've got fear. And so if you've got friendship, it means that friendly actions are more likely to work. If you've got respect, it means that commanding actions are more likely to work. And if you've got fear, it means that when you do like terrifying stuff, people are more likely to give you what you want. At least that's how it seems to work in the way that I've played through the game. I'm not really sure if these meters actually affect anything. I'm willing to bet that they do. I think that I've played the game sort of like if I have a whole bunch of friendliness, I'll usually go for the friendly option, and it seems to work a lot better than me trying like the option to scare them into submission if I don't have a full fear bar. And so that's one of the things about getting these early access titles. Like I get them about a week or 2 before they come out. You don't necessarily get a manual that comes along with them, and you kind of just have to sink or swim and figure it out. But going with the option that you have most filled up seems to be a pretty successful way of playing the game, so I wouldn't be hesitant to make a proclamation that perhaps these bars actually affect your outcomes with the given activities that you're trying to participate in. Okay, and we could say it's not that scary. We've seen mobs before, so we can be brave, we can be surly, and we can say the people don't want to see me. Every time they yell, I don't like it. Or we could be rebellious and say, "Can't I be for them in here? Or can't we just have the treaty sign in here?" I'll be brave. It's not that scary. I've seen angry mobs before. "I know you have. You understand that these mobs aren't your parents' fault, right? Your parents can't control the droughts or famines, and they can't give homes to everyone in the slums. I think even the mobs understand that deep down." And so we can say that everybody acts like it's our fault. We can say that we're trying to fix the problem with the treaty. And we can say that it's already been explained. I'm going to say, no, I know. They've already explained everything. "Asha, however angry people get, never forget that your parents were born to rule this city. Bhimrah needs them just like it needs you. If times are hard and things are scary, that isn't because your parents have failed. It's because Bhimrah needs you more now than ever." I don't really know why the slums don't like the treaty. Who can even say, but I reviewed the facts with your parents and I agree that the Naga Empire's trade network will be the best thing that's ever happened to Bhimrah. Even Vijay agrees, and he's been advising against the whole venture for years. You and your parents will make things better, Asha. It's your birthright. Now, you have responsibilities to face. And so I think he's done. You'll do fine. You were born to. I'm going to try and abbreviate a lot of... So in order to speed this along, because we're going to be spending a lot of time talking with our options down below, I'm going to do my best to sort of sugarcoat them, abbreviate them, smooth them out a little bit, turn them into soft serve so that we can move quicker through my half of the dialogue, because really the interesting things are all going to happen on this end. However, you don't want to ignore the decisions you're going to be making while you're playing the game either. So now we're talking to Vijay. Vijay is the court advisor, so he's the vizier. "Ah, there you are. The ambassadors will be here soon. You won't have time to go out and greet them, but these soldiers will protect you while you address the mobs outside. Nothing formal, just wave and tell them we care about them. If they know we're listening, they won't be quite as angry." We can say, "But we're not listening, we're signing the treaty anyways." We can say that we don't think this sounds very safe, or we can say that we understand. I'm just going to go with it because I feel like I'm a mouthpiece in this situation. "You won't have to leave the courtyard's wall tops, I promise you. Just go up there and tell people it'll all be okay." We can say, "Why can't we have the guards run them off? Do you really think the treaty is a good idea?" Or we could be understanding. I'm going to ask Vijay, "Do you really think the treaty is a good idea?" That's a complicated question. I do think the treaty's a good idea, and I think it can help Bhimrah a lot, but I'm also afraid we're not going to use the treaty as well as we should, and I think that's part of why people don't like it. They're afraid of the Naga, that's another part. I just wish your parents would take the people's reaction more to heart. Don't stray from the guards, and when the ambassadors do arrive, you can show them the greeting you learned in their language. I bet they'll be very impressed. We want them to be impressed, don't we? We can say yes, I guess, or we can say, I don't know, nobody explains anything to me. We'll just say, yes. Today is important. You should remember today, because one way or another, today is when things are going to change. That's sort of a foreboding thing to say. The Vizier is always the bad guy, though. If you go back and you read stories from, like, the East, it's always the Vizier that's up to no good. I bet, yeah. We'll see. We'll find out. Let's go and address the people and be like, we are the princess! Okay, and so we've now moved to a new character. You are Chitra, Chief Ambassador to the Naga Empire, age 56. Bhimrah has swallowed its long-standing animosity towards your empire because its fortunes are dire. The failure of the monsoon has left Bhimrah's harvest weak and its people desperate. As a peace offering, they took refugees from empire colonies into their own city's slums. Now they offer trade, goods for food. The Naga Empire can use such trade and the opportunity to send over more immigrants from its own overpopulated professional classes. They've sent you to hammer out the terms, a last job before you retire. But from the riots when you arrived, it seems not everyone is in favor of the deal. Let's take a look. So, Chitra is seasoned. This is not her first negotiation. And then Chitra is a mentor to Rhea. She'll be almost as good as her teacher someday. Let's go ahead and get to it. So now we're playing the part of the ambassador that the princess before was going to meet later. So you kind of got to watch the way that it jumps around. I'll do my best to explain what's going on. The person that wrote the storyline for this game has an amazing head for conspiracy and just keeping details straight. And so sometimes it'll feel like you're jumping in between different people and you're not really sure whose side you're playing for anymore. Just bear with it. Eventually the storyline will become clear, but I'll try and do my best knowing what's coming in the storyline to tell you like whose perspective we're in. So right now we are the ambassador from the Naga kingdom that Asha is supposed to go meet with right after she addresses the people. Alright, in Naga, I feel like I'm gonna be sick. Where are their leaders? They were supposed to be here already. We can tell her that nothing is simple in politics, keep your head straight. We can tell them that it's a tactic so that they can maintain control of the negotiations. So we have the suspicious / wary option, kind of that weird tin hat conspiracy. And then we've got Rhea switched to their language, so we can tell her to speak human so that they don't get paranoid. I'm going to go with that one because I have to put myself in the mindset of a diplomat. I want to keep the people that I'm negotiating with as comfortable as possible so that they will more than likely acquiesce to the terms. I mean, I can't guarantee that it will, but you want to make people comfortable when you're doing little conversations like this. So Rhea switched to their language. Don't make them paranoid. Don't make them paranoid. We've been surrounded by guards this whole time. We walked by angry mobs on our way in, and now we're in a courtyard full of armed humans, and the people we're here to talk with to save them food shortages and rioting slum dwellers are nowhere to be seen. Rhea, I said switch, now. In their language. So, what do you think, Ambassador? Should we go around the room and talk to people? We can say that that's an excellent idea. Strong, friendly relationships are always to be desired. We can say, oh yes, by all means, polite conversation is key. Or we can say, of course, and we can stress that we need to make sure that they understand our economic position as we walk around. I'm going to say, let's go with encouraging. I'm going to say, actually, I'm going to be stern with her. Of course, let's see that they all understand our economic position. I will regroup when the royals arrive. Now, you want to be careful because the things that you tell Rhea will affect things later on in the game. It's very difficult this early in the game to see the connections based on the advice you're giving various characters. A lot of the characters in this game who seem like nobodies right now will end up being shot callers later, and they will act in accordance with the advice that their mentors gave them 20 years ago. This game follows the entire lifespan of various characters, and so in a lot of ways it almost reminds me of Saga Frontier or any of those games that span really long time periods, just kind of sans the combat and any actual gameplay. This is mostly just you talking. It's kind of like a diplomacy simulator, and I think that it's going to be a really popular game with the crowd that enjoyed like The Walking Dead and games like that, which are really just sort of storyline immersion machines. Let's talk to this guy named Pranav. Oh, I won't take up much of your time. I just wanted to say how much I was looking forward to this arrangement. Some of the fruits my family has traditionally used to brew sura have become very hard to get a hold of, but our product is liked so well that nobles offered us first pick at the shipments. We can say that perhaps you could give us some samples. I've never tried sura. You can say, I thought there were food shortages in your city. Is that a prudent allocation? Or you can say, yes, very lovely, excuse me. Let's question about the food shortages. It's perfectly alright. And you see right there we lost a whole bunch of our green bar? It's perfectly alright. I mean, after trade starts, we'll have enough food for everyone in the city, so we can afford to make a few essential luxuries. We'll still be feeding everyone but the slums, and they're not contributing anything to the trade deal anyways, are they? Besides, a few overripe carts of fruit won't do much good there. So you don't really think of the slums as part of the city. Or we could say, and what about the Naga refugees? Ah, we could look out for our own people. What about the Naga refugees? I don't know, but seeing as your people are the ones with all the food, why hasn't the Empire arranged to take care of them? Maybe because they don't care any more than we do, about our slum dwellers, that is. Anyways, good luck with the treaty. It was good to speak with you. And so you always want to go for extra snippets of opportunity. I've found that in this game, when you choose the option that's like friendly or sort of doesn't butt heads with people, it tends to be a bad idea. You really kind of want to pry at people for information. You want to get inside their guts and just kind of see what they're hiding, because everybody has an ulterior motive in this game. Let's talk to Dinesh. Got a good look at the way the slums are situated on my way in. Technically, they don't occupy any of what's considered Bhimrah's traditional footing. There's no real right or wrong answer, but I think it could be argued that they aren't subject to Bhimrah's laws. They certainly don't seem very interested in enforcing much order out there. That's less than satisfactory. We've got refugees out there. They deserve some protection. That's a reasonable stance to take, but I imagine if there weren't significant logistical problems enforcing peace out there, they'd already be doing it. People here seem rightfully scared of the slums. I'd be interested to see what plans the humans have for them. Okay, let's go ahead and we will talk with Madhu. Actually, let's go with a deal. I heard you and your cohort socializing. Naga's such an interesting language. Tell me, is it possible for a human to learn it? You could say that it is indeed, the royal family already has. You could say you're not really sure, or you can say, ah yes, I'm sure you'll all be speaking Naga soon, which is kind of a backhanded way of threatening them. I'll probably go with the center option. Oh, you know, it's difficult to say. Oh, that's quite clever. Well done, you obviously have a fine command of our language. Which brings me to my point, actually. You do realize it's a bit rude when you speak Naga in front of us. It makes us feel as though you're hiding something. Yes, I apologize on my cohort's behalf. She's inexperienced. Ah, well, we've all been there. And you see we lost some of our fear bar right there? That's a good thing. Ah, well, we've all been there. I'm sure I've been guilty of more than a few misgraces myself. Just, please be more mindful. We'll talk to Madhu. Hello, I'm Madhu. Adil and I rode from our home out by our lands just to meet you in person for a few days' escape. Was your journey pleasant? We can say that it was comfortable. We can say that we appreciate the chance to travel places without a thick canopy. Or we can say that the countryside is nice even in its current state. I'll probably say that it was... let's go with that. Oh yes, I always appreciate the chance to travel to places without a thick canopy. My mother and father visited the Naga territories once on a diplomatic journey. They said your homeland was lovely and so abundant with resources. Makes me wonder why you need an empire at all. We can say that access to metals and ports are a factor. We can say that it's not our job. I broker trade alliances. Or we say that we like to think of it as paternal. We strengthen those places who cannot stand on their own. I'm going to stick to the diplomatic because you've always got to keep your eye on the prize when it comes to fulfilling a job. We are role-playing after all. Access to metals and ports are a factor, although I think that might be a little bit generous with our motives. I don't think it's really going to matter anyways. You should talk to us if you ever want a place to stay while you're on business. Our estate is very comfortable and we would be pleased to do anything we could to facilitate trade and good relations. It's long past time we reached out to you, don't you think? And we to you. I hope all goes well with this treaty. This could turn the worst year of Bhimrah's history into the finest era it's had in a long time. And so there's a lot more people to talk to. I'm going to swing around onto this side. And you want to be careful because this game follows, I suppose this game takes place in sort of the Middle Ages of India. And so there's a rigid caste system in place that is not surmountable by any means. And so you're going to have to learn the rules of society and kind of obey those rules. Otherwise you're going to end up stepping or, slithering on people's toes all the time. Let's talk to Lakshmi. Have you spoken with my husband, Yogesh? I haven't. Do me a favor. Do that first, it'll make my life easier. Okay, let's go talk to Yogesh. Greetings, my name's Yogesh. I own the farmlands you people passed on your way in. Hope nobody gave you any trouble. Usually when my people see a big snake, they go at it with a spade. We can be funny, and we can say when we see a talking monkey, we usually put the jug down. We can say there were no problems, thank you, or we could say I'm sure they were occupied with their labor. I know how difficult it is to dig dry earth. I'm gonna go with the first one. We're gonna be smooth in this case. So when we see a talking monkey, we usually put the jug down. Ha! Say, how much do you need to drink to feel it anyways? I knew a man half your size and he had to drink a basin of wine just to get his head fuzzy. We can say, oh, plenty by human standards. We need to eat more too. We can say, if you want to find out, I'd be happy to drink as much wine as you've got. And we can say, I don't know, I don't indulge much. We'll say, oh, plenty by human standards. We have to eat more, too. Remind me to bring you over to my estate one of these days. Anything you want will be yours. Times are hard, but never too hard to make a few friends, right? Peasants will hate it, but they've never spoken to a Naga before, so what do they know? I'll take you up on that. Of course, my wife might not like it either. She always gets tetchy when I invite somebody over without asking her, so I try to ask people over whenever I get the chance. I don't take that kind of treatment from women. You know how they can get, yeah? And so, we can fess up right here, and we can say that we are female. We can say, yes, yes, I do know that, and be kind of awkward. And we can say, perhaps things are different in our societies, or we can excuse ourselves. In the interest of diplomatic, he's like the leader of like a trade guild or something. I'm going to excuse myself, but only because I know what happens. When the last time I played, I was super firm with him, and it didn't work out so great. So I'm going to excuse myself. What? Oh, yeah, go ahead. Well, now that you've spoken with my husband, I suppose he won't begrudge us some conversation. He doesn't much like it when visitors speak to me first, you see. He finds it disrespectful. I can say that there are similar cases in Naga society. Our classless structure means status is hotly disputed. We can say, I see, we may converse now, or I can say, how do you feel about that? Let's go with sympathetic. Sufficiently in command of myself that I needn't unburden myself on a stranger, thank you. Do not judge or pity me, my life is my own. I meant no disrespect. Regardless of what you meant, you've achieved it. What did you really think you had to offer me? What did you think I had to offer you? Wow, touchy. Calm down, lady, take your lithium. Jesus. I thought I could learn something of Bhimrah's attitudes, and I think I have. We are different peoples, you and I. The Naga Empire and Bhimrah are naturally at odds with one another. Understanding will not help that. The only thing that's going to create a good relationship between our peoples is if you can give us what we want, and we can give you what you want. Remember that. So she's now disgusted with us. Critical of ours. Okay, no concerned. Wow, that conversation went way differently the last time I talked to her. But then again, she's kind of being a grumpy asshole, so whatever. We'll be on our way. If I were in her situation, I'd be a grumpy asshole too. Let's go up. I don't know how many people there are up here. I don't think we can go in there because that's where the king and queen are. It'll actually block us with the guards. We'll talk to Kalyan. Have you been here long in the city? As long as you know to give the slums a wide berth, there are many fine things to see here. A walk might be in order after the treaty is signed, yes? I'm sure there won't be much to do, but perhaps it could be arranged. There won't be that much to do. How much hard negotiating do you really expect? We have a few resources we can't use, and you've got the food we need to keep ourselves alive. All you have to do is go in there and throw that in their faces, and they'll give you whatever they want. Or go down in history as the royals that doomed us all. Probably, but I expect a lot of overhead. You understand. If you don't want to talk now, I understand. Just remember that you'll always have friends here in Bhimrah. I like taking control of the Naga. It kind of gets me outside of my own skin. I like being something other than being a human. It's rare in a video game, so I think we've talked to everybody. Let's go back and talk to Rhea, and we'll kind of get this thing on the way. Ooh, apparently we missed somebody. Who did we miss? Dinesh? I thought we already got Dinesh. Oh, we can actually go off to the right and the left. Okay, let's go off to the right, and then we'll handle the left. The game actually won't let you proceed a lot of the time until you finally go through and talk to everybody, which is actually something, I don't know, sometimes you feel like being frivolous. We also have an inventory, by the way. I've yet to see the inventory actually affect anything, but there's lots of little snippets of lore and information in here where you could take a look at the inventory. Sometimes having an item will make a situation go better, but by and large, I think I've only seen an item come into play maybe once in the 4 hours that I've played. Maybe I've just made the wrong decisions. That's also something that I would mill about and consider, is that maybe I haven't approached the game well enough to use the items, but from what I've seen so far, the items don't really seem to do anything. Name's Praveen. You'll forgive me. I'm just here to oversee the gardens. 30 years of advising the treasury was enough politics for this lifetime. Well, may I commend you on your magnificent work. I'll be honest, I didn't used to know a thing about gardening. About a year ago, I realized that it was getting to the point where every palace administrator without a billhook in his hand was going to have to turn his attention to the slums and all that unpleasant business. So, I picked up a billhook. Haven't looked back since, either. Interesting. Seems like nobody here is keen to talk about the slums. Yes, well, I think people have finally come around to the idea that the slums are what they are. What's the point in worrying about them? We can't feed them all. The royals are dead set against purging them, so we can't afford any of the suggested uses for them. So you're going to let your own citizens starve to death? Or we could say harsh but reasonable. Or we could say that's all well for your people, but what about the Naga refugees in the slums? I'll go with practical. You're going to let your own citizens starve to death? Slum dwellers aren't citizens. We can't use them and we don't want them. Even if we did, we couldn't save them. It's a matter of knowing what we can save and what we can't. The slums suffer as they always have, as they always will, until the disease and famine gets to them as it someday must. The farms will crack and turn to dust, and there's nothing that we can do about it. The people may spit on the name of their king and take to the streets in riots. With all of our problems, none of that can be helped. But the day we let slip the great things Bhimrah has built, this garden, our palace, our way of life, then we are truly lost beyond hope. You can say that his premise is flawed. People make a city, not a garden. We can say that we understand why he feels that way. We can say that this is a sickening conversation and we want no more part in it. Or we can excuse ourselves. I'm going to excuse myself. Take care then. Like, if you're playing the part of a diplomat, there's no point beefing with any of these people and getting into a giant, just rowdy house. It's not going to matter anyways. You'll see what I mean in just a little bit. I am called Kushi. I have been asked to show you some of the garments I sew in my village, if it pleases you. We can say that we understand that we're frightening to a human. Say, yes, very good, excuse me, and we can compliment her quality. Let's do that. Your sewing is of exceptional quality. Do you sell your work inside the city? No, I'm afraid we aren't permitted inside the city. Not anymore. A few peasants left and didn't come back, and now Yagesh careful. I sell these through the traders that come to the village, but even they're coming less and less often. I'm sorry. You don't need to hear all this. Please excuse me. Alright, so I suppose Kushi no longer wants to talk. Hey, another snaky person. What's up, Kieran? Did the riots when we arrived not worry you? I knew Bhimrah was only sheltering our refugees to soften us towards this trade agreement, but I'm starting to worry for their safety. I think I ought to go to the slums to see things for myself. The whole reason I came here was to see their education and integration into Bhimrah society. We can say that absolutely go, but if you insist, take guards with you. It's dangerous out there. We can say don't. We need to learn more before we take any actions. And then we could say, Kieran, in our official capacity, those refugees were always a distant priority. They're no good to... no, okay, so we can say that basically we don't care about the refugees. Worry about your business. I'm going to go with the middle option. Because, well, basically because I've played the game before and I know what's going to happen. And so I tend to, like, cheat on things. I mean, it's foresight. Hindsight is always 20/20. I made all the naive decisions last time when I played through. And it bit me in the ass pretty hard. So I'm kind of interested in seeing what happens if I make the brash decisions this time. If I make the bold decisions this time, and seeing how that turns out. So don't. We need to learn more before we take any rash actions. This is diplomacy after all. Fine, but you need to bring this up with their king and queen. We cannot claim in good conscience that we're doing our best to help our empire if we leave its citizens in peril. I'm going to see that our people I'm going to see that our people get taken care of, whatever the costs are. Sorry about that. My dyslexia hit me right there for a second. Words were moving around on me. Text-heavy games tend to do that to me every now and again, and it seems to be when I record them in longer sessions, it gets worse and worse. So hopefully it's not a recurring issue. I think we're just about out of time for today. Let me know what you think about this series, because this is one that I wasn't really sure if I wanted to play on the channel, but I did want to give you an introduction to the game. A lot of times I'm really apprehensive about playing games like this because I'm not sure it's got enough action to keep people entertained, because I know that there's very much kind of different segments of my viewership that like different things. Some of you seem to be really, really infatuated by storyline heavy games, and others just seem to kind of roll their eyes in the corner and go, boring. So let me know. We'll play a couple episodes, and if people by that point are just like, this game totally sucks and they want to bail out, then I guess we could do that. Or if people are just like, I need to know what happens, then we will continue the storyline along. My name is Splattercat. Thank you for taking the time today to join me in the fair, pleasant Indian country of, I guess, the Indian-themed country of Bhimrah. Bhimrah might be a real place. I'm not really sure. My geography is weak. I will admit that forthright. So anyways, I'll see y'all in the next episode. Take care out there, everybody. And as always, a fine hi-do from me to you.